As twilight settled over the cobbled streets, the familiar glow from stained-glass windows began to flicker to life, casting warm, dappled light onto the weathered pavements outside. Inside, a mellow hush blanketed the room, punctuated by the gentle murmur of conversation and the low chime of a well-used bell behind the counter. The air carried the comforting aroma of strong, rich, ale-earthy, sweet, and faintly metallic, and clung tightly to the wooden beams overhead. Behind the wooden bar, pint glasses awaited, their surfaces misted as the next round was pulled, foam lacing the rims. Hints of laughter and the subdued clink of coins drifted among the smoke-tinted rafters, intermingling with the distant strains of a favorite melody from the battered jukebox in the corner. Plush, time-worn upholstery inviting one to settle in beside neighbors, exchanging quiet nods or sharing dog-eared tales. Outside, a light drizzle danced against the leaded panes, but within these walls, the world narrowed to soft light, the scent of beer on the air, and the contentment of unhurried company, a sanctuary that remained unchanged as day faded and memories gently accumulated. Stepping inside, the familiar pub warmth envelops you, the hush broken by the sharp thwack of a dart meeting its board. The tiny flurry of chalk dust lingers in the air as locals, sleeves rolled and brows furrowed in good-natured rivalry, take turns at the osh. Through the haze, the unmistakable tang of pipe smoke wins its way, as if determined to anchor you in the scene's gentle chaos. The jukebox comes to life in bursts, the opening bars of a chart-topping single waltz among the crowd, vinyl's subtle crackle and pop underscoring every crescendo. At the bar, there's always one or two regulars, quick with a wry remark, slow with a grumble about the price of crisps, their voices weaving comfortably through the music and occasional laughter. Each pint is nursed deliberately, hands curling possessively round glass as stories are exchanged with the stubbornness of old friends recalling the same punchline from a decade ago. Glass rings mark polished surfaces beside dominoes and scattered beer mats, each telling a silent history all their own. Every so often, a door swings open, letting in a gust of cool air that briefly stirs the curtain of smoke, before the solid thud marks its closing and the whole ritual resumes unabated. Overhead, the lamps throw gentle pools of gold onto patterned carpets, illuminating knowing nods and mock outrage at a badly thrown dart. Through it all, the glue of the scene is the rhythm, a dart striking true, hit parade classics on the spin, and the ebb and flow of voices tangled with nostalgia, unhurried by the world outside. Breathing in the bracing energy of a Friday night, the heart of town pulses with adolescent anticipation. Teenage bravado parades itself beneath the blinking neon of shop fronts, clusters of friends nervously loitering at the threshold of adulthood. Trainers stick faintly to the syrupy floors of busy nightclubs, laughter erupting in spasms as they edge forward in crowded queues. IDs clutched tightly in clammy, hopeful hands. The air is thick with mingling perfumes, shampoo tang meeting the hoppy residue of half-spilled lager. Ceiling fans spin ineffectively above, restless heat rolling off the press of bodies. Each tune from the speakers sparking fresh eruptions of dancing as glasses knock together in hasty, joyous cheers. Indecisive youths oscillate between the promise of the dance floor and the chilly exodus to chip shops, clamoring with voices cracked rough from singing along to pop hits of the hour. Splashes of cola sticky beneath trainers, the metallic tang of pocket change dispensed for another round, and the sharp coolness of an ice-cold can pressed to a burning cheek all conjure the trials of youth. Side conversations hover anxiously in the background, as secret glances and awkward introductions unfold under fizzing electric light. Perspiration gathers at temples and in palms, nervous with the high stakes of rumored crushes and furtive first kisses, under flashing overhead strobes and the echo of hopeful plans for after-parties. These nights draw lines of memory, the electric tension of growing up, immortalized in the shimmer of beer, sweat, and bravado. The hub of the evening, drawn close by a roaring fire, felt less like a public house and more like a family sitting room for wayward sons and daughters. Tables bore silent testimony to years of loyal attendance, with corners sticky from last orders and tablets of laughter scored into the wood by countless gatherings, as pints of bitter sloshed generously sometimes over the sides, leaving amber puddles and damp sleeves. These small blunders were swiftly mopped up with no more than a chuckle and a nod. In this cocoon, the easy hum of stories winding round and round fed the soul as much as the battered plates of crisps, or the tang of pickled onions. Jokes, old and new, volleyed in the air amid the agreeable tumult, each exchange tightening the invisible cords of friendship. The quick snap of a match igniting a cigarette competed only with the crackle and pop from the hearth. On benches their laughter spilled out, reaching crescendo when the evening's last tale spun generously into exaggeration by the third or fourth round. The soundtrack was a medley of cheerful banter, harmonized with the barkeep's sharp retort or the soft grumble from a companion reluctant to buy a round. In these snug gatherings, alliances were sealed over handshakes and half-finished pints. Soreness over missed penalties or late trains forgotten in the warmth radiating from both flames and friends. The night outside faded behind steamed panes, while memories and laughter settled deeply into the shared marrow of the group, ready to be resurrected exactly where they'd left off the next time the fire beckoned them in. At closing time, when the last call had long faded, a hush would settle across battered wooden tables, only to be broken by rowdy cheers erupting from those gathered for a few more stolen minutes. Glasses clattered in hands, grown bold as stories grew more outlandish, and the pub somehow felt smaller, the walls leaning in just to listen. Fresh packs of crisps, hastily torn open, often hit the floor during impromptu toasts, their salt and vinegar scent mingling with lingering smoke and the sweat of late-night revelry. There was a thrill in flouting the rules, a secret pact amongst the chosen few who lingered after hours, landlords locking the doors with a sly nod, curtains drawn to shield the goings-on from prying eyes. Cigarette tips glowed in the dim light as laughter echoed between sips of lukewarm lager, and the sense of time blurred. The clatter of a dropped stool accompanied the uneven chorus of a football chant resurrected for the umpteenth time. Moments later, the bounce of a stray crisp underfoot signaled yet another round. Someone always managing to unearth a hidden stash of peanuts or pork scratchings. Shadows lengthened as stories circled back to near-mythical escapades, names awash with mischief and pride. Evenings faded to morning's edge as the last few drinkers, voices hoarse, nursed their losses and victories in equal measure, knowing such infamous lock-ins would be retold for years. In those hidden hours, camaraderie alchemized into loyalty, and each spilled crisp or raucous toast became embedded in the pub's quiet history, part of the legend only the lucky few ever truly witnessed. The close of the 70s and rise of the 80s ushered in a wave of transformation behind the pub doors, subtly altering the landscape that regulars once took for granted. Bar tops, once simple wooden affairs, began to shimmer with newly installed chrome taps and mirrored glass racks, a hint of modernity cutting across the long-familiar scene. The persistent chime of fruit machines drew an ever-younger crowd, their coins disappearing with hopeful anticipation beneath the pulsating digital displays. Even the air itself seemed to shift. The unmistakable temps of aftershave now mingled with the usual scents, marking the passage of new punters and changing times. In one corner, a row of bottled lagers lined up, edging out old classics, their imported labels promising cosmopolitan adventure to those willing to swap ale for something with fizz. A swirl of novelty cocktails and sweet ciders gained traction as daring tastes crept in, their bright colors clashing gently with the surroundings. Beyond the bustle of the bar, the hum of voices adopted a sharper, more excitable tone, reflecting the energy of visitors keen on fast nights and faster impressions. Velvet benches lost ground to squat plastic stools, easier to clean but less forgiving to settle into on a long evening. Reserved elders eyed proceedings from their perches, their pints a reassuring presence amid the change, while groups of fresh-faced hopefuls compared the merits of shiny trainers and spiky hairstyles. The rhythm of these nights pulsed to the song of new slot machines and the background thrum of pop hits, shimmering out through open doors to catch the ears of passers-by. Ashtrays filled quicker, the evidence of busier, more relentless nights piling up alongside empty bottles and snack wrappers. Yet, in these evolving spaces, laughter and bravado endured, bridging the gap between generations with a wink and a story retold to anyone who cared to listen. Between 1978 and 1986, the local pub became more than just a destination for a drink. It was a place where a generation quietly forged its identity. That familiar glow through windows, now tinged with years of weather and memory, invited in those seeking belonging. Each evening was painted with a nostalgic warmth, guests passing under faded signage whose letters whispered of decades past. The worn brass and uneven tabletops held countless fingerprints, reminders that these spaces bore witness to laughter, heartbreak, and fleeting romance. The atmosphere was often punctuated by the mournful echo of a distant bell, signaling time but also marking the end of another chapter for those gathered within. Their friendships were tested and loyalties declared in both earnest discussion and playful disagreement, while young adults found their feet on thresholds between innocence and experience. Amid the faded posters curling on the walls and the soft hum of conversation, senses sharpened every aroma and quiet sound imprinted itself on the memory. Though fashions and music changed with the years, the pub offered constancy, remaining a refuge against uncertainty just outside its doors. In those aimless hours, the values of camaraderie and resilience became woven into the very fabric of life, shaping not just nights out, but the way a whole generation would look back on itself. As the latch clicks and the doors are drawn shut, the familiar buzz gives way to the cool hush of evening. An easy breeze flutters against cheeks as the night air drifts in, carrying with it the faint hum of laughter echoing from a distance. Leaving behind the enveloping warmth and echoes of good company, we step out beneath an inky sky, each of us holding our own memories close. Footsteps become softer, muffled by the muted hush that follows boisterous hours, while the glow from street lamps glimmers faintly on welt-rodden pavements. The gentle scrape of shoes on concrete and the last peal of laughter, somewhere out of sight, remind us that these places lived on not just within walls, but in every recollection they shaped. As we part ways, may these sounds and feelings linger, urging you to recall what stories you would tuck away from those evenings, and which fragments of laughter or passing breezes you might place in your own time capsule.